Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. It's Monday again. If you guys have never met me before, hello. It's wonderful to meet you. My name is Deborah Lee Smith. I am an actor, a filmmaker, and a mental health advocate located in Los Angeles. And the way that I like to start these off is to check in with everyone, see how everyone's doing. Let me know where you're from. Give me thumbs up if you're feeling good. Maybe a slanty face if you're feeling so-so. I can see any of the comments in any of the comments from Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to, this is going to be interactive. So if there's anything that you want to talk to me about, please feel free to leave it in the comment. Hi, Adam from England. Good evening. Hi, Georgia. I'm doing okay. Adam, I'm doing okay. How are you today? Hi, Rick. Rick is one of my regulars. Good day from Australia. Hello. Hi, Megan. And hi, Andrea from Scotland. Wonderful. Love everyone coming and checking in with me today. So if you've never done one of these with me before, I usually do them every other Monday right here at 1 o'clock. And 2 weeks ago, I was actually on a plane, so I wasn't able to check in. And so now we're gonna go live today. Hello, Rudy from Los Angeles. Oh, long time watcher, first time commenting. Thank you for opening up and commenting. I'm so glad that you're here. And Adam, you are sharing that you're just a little bit nervous. Do you want to go into that a little bit more? What are you feeling nervous about? So as I said right here in the beginning, I am also located in Los Angeles. So hi, Rudy. And I'm an actor and a filmmaker, writer, producer, and mental health is super, super important to me. And because of that, I started an organization a couple years ago called More Than You See. And that organization also has a podcast called More Than You See. And in that podcast, I talk to all sorts of different people, some of them in the film industry and some of them not, but to really talk about the masks that we wear and the different ways that we kind of like shield our feelings sometimes, and how even though that can be a personal choice and can be perfectly okay if that's where you're at, how I just strongly encourage all of us to feel our feelings and go through the difficult work of being our own mental health advocate and advocating for ourselves, for our happiness, for our lives. And that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. So I love that you guys are chatting here in the chat and saying hi to each other. You guys know each other. That's the best. I love it. I love it. So Adam shares, I have a massive strongman competition coming up. Congratulations, Adam. That's really, really impressive. And just the fact that you are committing to something like that, that's amazing. Like I'm very impressed. That's really cool. Andrea, so Andrea says that you suffer from agoraphobia. You haven't had support in 15 months. Scotland is a joke. I am assuming that you're specifically talking about, dealing with COVID and everything right now. And Andrea, I really empathize with you. I know that things are really, it's really difficult right now for everyone. And I think that as these surges in cases, we've gone from things like kind of being okay to things now starting to surge again when it comes to COVID. And it's really stressful, and it kind of exacerbates all of the feelings that we're already feeling. I know that me personally, when I'm going through really difficult, mental health spaces, when I'm also dealing with what's going on in the world, it just seems like it's makes everything 100 times worse. And Andrea, I'm so sorry to hear that you guys can't go out for food. I know that, LA has some pretty strict lockdown procedures as well at some point, and it's really difficult. I think that we're all doing the best that we can, but sometimes it doesn't even seem like it's good enough, because there is like real lives and people and mental health stuff that's at stake. And thank you for sharing that with us here. Hi, Lori, first time here. I'm so glad that you have joined us. Adam, that's really awesome that you use your strongman competition to help you with your anxiety and depression. That's really amazing, and I'm sure very, very helpful. If you guys, just so you know, I have 2 dogs next to me, and so if I'm turning around, it's because I'm making sure that they're okay. You guys can see one of them right there. This is Zell, that's my friend's dog, and then I have my dog right here at my feet. So I'm kind of monitoring the situation to make sure that everyone is happy. So just excuse me for that. So Megan shares that you do that all the time. You hide your feelings and sometimes you stuff them inside. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I do that as well, Megan. And I think, that's something that what I want to talk about today, we'll just launch right in. What I really want to talk about today is how you can support someone with anxiety and depression. So if you have a partner, if you have a friend, if you have, someone in your life that is experiencing really strong anxiety and depression, what can we do in order to try and help them as much as possible? And I think that some of the things that we're going to talk about also relate to ourselves. This is something that I had a really important therapy session last week with my therapist, and something that my therapist reminded me is, I was talking to her about my current situation, about things, and she was like, okay, if you were talking to 6-year-old Deborah, what would you say to 6-year-old Deborah if she was coming to you with this? And I was like, well, I would tell her that everything was going to be okay, and that, like, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, and then she said, well, is that necessarily true? And I was like, no. And she said, well, like the like real thing is the fact that, like, you are your own best friend, soulmate, partner, etc. Like, you are in charge of yourself, and that's the only thing in the world that you can really count on is yourself. And there's something really, like, terrifying about that, and something really beautiful about that, and that's kind of what I want to touch on today as well. Leslie, hi, so wonderful to see you. Leslie is also one of my regulars. It's wonderful to have you guys here. Yeah, thank you, Jackie and Andrea. You were both talking about your experience with agoraphobia, and I'm so glad that you're able to connect to each other with this. I think that that's why these talks are so valuable, because people can, you can find other people that you connect with, and find other people that, what did you find? Oh, that's a pen. Okay, see, there we go. She's eating a pen. We're going to take that away from her. She's just a puppy. She's only 10 months old, this dog behind me, and so I need to be aware of her. Anyways, so yeah, okay, so thank you for everyone else for sharing. I'm going through these comments right now. So Anthony, I'm really sorry to hear that you had a divorce that was often caused about your anger outbursts. I think that as you're sharing this, that you understand the changes in the attitude. I think that it's really difficult because so many people, like, depression and anxiety and anything in the mental health space is very nuanced, and it's very unique. It's very personal. And so it's very difficult sometimes for people to establish boundaries, rules, understanding of, like, how someone is going to react to you or how someone's going to relate to you when it comes to what's going on with them. And that's why I kind of wanted to talk about this today, because I think that sometimes when we are working with someone who suffers from anxiety or depression, or someone who's going through a really difficult mental health crisis, I think that sometimes we feel like we need to like, fix them or help them or like do something in order to, put our opinion about how they should feel onto them. And that's not helpful. And that's one of the things I want to talk about today is like the importance of loving the, of course, when it comes, I'm not talking about, if there's abuse or any kind of violence or you are hurting yourself or others, I'm not talking about that. That is definitely a different situation in which, maybe there needs to be some other steps or some other things that need to be taken care of. But if I'm just talking about, someone going through depression or someone having, panic attacks, anxiety, all those kinds of things, I think that it's really important to love your partner for all of the sides of themselves, for those things that may not be the most Instagram worthy, the beautiful stereotypical things, and to love both those dark sides of them as well as those light sides of them, because that's what makes them the full person. And I think I was listening to something the other day that was talking about the importance of loving a person as who they are instead of loving the idea of what they are. And I think that that's really, really important. And that also has to do with you, the importance of loving yourself as a full person instead of only loving parts of yourself or only loving the idea of yourself. So yeah, thank you again for everyone else who is talking. So we've got a lot of people who are talking about themselves having depression and anxiety, and I'm sorry. There's a lot of comments here. So yeah, thank you, Whitney, for sharing that. Your body hurts from how tensely you hold yourself. I would love to hear, Whitney, if you have any things that you have learned, any tools that you've learned in order to try and work through those periods of intense anxiety, because I think that there are some like really fairly simple things that people use in order to try and work through periods like that. And I'm curious if there's anything that really works for you that you could share with the community. And if not, I'll chime in with a couple suggestions as well. Amira, you're sharing that you feel like everything is meaningless right now. I'm so sorry that you are feeling like that. I think that unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are feeling like that right now, especially again, because of what's going on with COVID, because of what's because of the ups and downs of everyone. It's really, I feel like if you're an empath, which a lot of people that struggle with different mental health are, then we often are getting down, we're getting everyone else's feelings, and we kind of suck them in as well. And so I certainly have gone through periods where I feel like everything is meaningless. So I certainly relate to that. And I hope that you're able to find some things in your life that bring you some happiness and some meaning, and just hold on to those things, like even if they're simple. That's like where gratitude comes in. It's really, really important. And okay, let's see. So Christopher shares, I bounce off of my friend as we both suffer from mental health. He turns his life around with art. He does loads for young people with mental health. He paints with screwdrivers. That's really cool. That's really, really awesome. I think that it's so valuable. I know that I created More Than You See because I was going through a really difficult mental health crisis. And when I was able to pull myself through it, the thing that really helped me was to find a purpose in life. And for me, that was creating More Than You See. So I certainly think that that's that there's some real value in that, and like finding some purpose through your pain. I think that's really, really wonderful. Again, we have so many people who are talking about this. This is, I really appreciate everyone's honesty. Rick is sharing that he had unresolved anger in an early relationship. Andrea is sharing that mental health in Scotland is something that they don't really care about very much. And unfortunately, that is the case in most countries in the world. And I know that myself, the mighty More Than You See, like we're doing what we can to try and change that, and to change the stigma, and to encourage the idea that mental health is important, and it's just as important as physical and, our body health. Nagin, I believe that's how you say your name. You're saying that you have been going through a lot of this. And Penelope is sharing that you have borderline personality disorder and emotional psychosis and panic attacks, anxiety disorder and depression. You take medication from your psychiatrist and you feel emptiness all the time. Thank you for sharing that, Penelope. Number one, I would have to say there's some really incredible talks on the Mighty about borderline personality disorder. So if you haven't checked those out before, I strongly recommend that you do, because I bet that there might be something there that is going to really resonate with you in a way that maybe my talks won't in the same level. Because I don't have any personal experience with that, but I really appreciate you showing up for yourself and showing up for the community and sharing that with me and with everyone else. I think it's really amazing that you are sharing that you are taking medication from your psychiatrist. That's really, really key. I think that sometimes medication is the most important thing that we can do in order to try and get to a basic foundation to like function in the world. So thank you for that. Again, we've got so many other incredible things. So Wendy shares, mental health has always been a hit and miss service. And then you also share, lower down that your dog died and you miss him. I'm so sorry to hear about that. That really is really, really hard. And I think that's, that makes sense why you're feeling like that right now. Yes. Okay, Whitney. So Whitney, just a couple minutes ago shared about how she feels like her entire body gets really, really tense when she's going through anxiety. So thank you, Whitney, for chiming in here and saying that one of the things that you do is you remind yourself to unclench. You go for a run or a physical activity. That's amazing. That's really incredible. The other thing that I would say, as far as like dealing with panic attacks, dealing with anxiety, any of those kinds of things, is that anxiety and panic is specifically your fight or flight parasympathetic nervous system basically saying, hey, there's danger around you and you need to tense up in order to fight off said danger. Now, in like a long time ago, that danger could have been like saber-toothed tiger attacks or something like that. Today, it probably isn't actually something that is causing us actual physical harm, but I know that I've had some really difficult conversations over the past couple of weeks, and the amount of anxiety that I'm feeling when I'm having these conversations, it feels like I'm about to run a marathon, like your entire body just gets flooded with adrenaline and just like, yeah, your entire body feels like you're a mess of like, knots. And I think the thing that I've reminded myself that I want to share with everyone is to do, the box method when it comes to breathing. And so that's to basically imagine a box and to breathe in for a count of 4 or 5, depending upon the person, to hold that breath for 4 or 5, to breathe out for 4 or 5, and then to hold that again for 4 or 5. So basically, you just kind of imagine a box. And so again, it's like breathing in for 4, holding for 4, breathing out for 4, holding for 4. And just like having something where you're kind of imagining and doing that like structured breathing really helps your body go, okay, I'm actually not in crisis, or if I am, I'm able to like kind of look at things with a little bit more of a clear head. I know that that's something that's really been helping my anxiety right now, is to do that, and also to do the thing where you're supposed to activate the other senses in your body, because again, your anxiety is your body going, hey, there's something dangerous out here, and so it's really important for you to go, that I'm seeing, like look at 3 things around you that you see, that you smell, that you touch, that you hear, and that just activates your other senses to kind of remind yourself that like you're okay, that you're safe. So those are some things that really help me when I'm having some like panic attacks or intense anxiety. So I hope that might be something that is helpful. Yes. Okay, so many stuff here. First of all, Leslie says box breathing is great. Absolutely. I think that's really, I completely agree. It's been something that's really, really helped me right now. Heather, I thank you so much for sharing this. This is really, really difficult. And I just want to recognize you for sharing this. So Heather shares that she lost her sister to COVID, and she was only 37. She wasn't married or had children. She went into the hospital. All of her medical care was left up to you. You suffered depression, anxiety, insomnia, PTSD. You had to make the decision to stop the care. The world not believing in COVID really hurts. You try not to listen, but it's in your face every day. Man, I feel like my world is falling apart and I can't control anything. Heather, thank you for sharing that. That is so difficult on a level that I honestly can't even imagine. And I am so honored that you decided to come and share that with us today. I recognize you. You've been to my talks before, and I really appreciate you opening up like this. Number one, can I say, obviously, this is not your fault. And even though I'm sure I can understand the guilt that you are feeling, that is not something, that is not a burden that is on you. And I'm so sorry that it was left like that, but that wasn't your responsibility. And I think that this is the thing that's so frustrating about this disease and about this current state in the world, is the fact that we have so little control about what's going on. I think that in any kind of medical situation, in any kind of world situation, we have ideas about what our life is going to be like. We have ideas about what is going to happen every single day. And yet those ideas can be completely dashed based on other people's actions, external factors, all of these sorts of things. And COVID has been the epitome of all of that, because we literally have no control over what is happening. I have a lot of friends who have never left their house and yet they still got COVID. And then I have friends who've been traveling and they haven't gotten COVID at all. It's so, it's so frustrating. And I really appreciate, again, you showing up for yourself in this way and sharing this. And I have to say that the only thing that I can, say is that I'm sure that with you continuing to share in spaces like this and in other spaces, I'm sure that you'll find more people that are, feeling the same, that may share a similar story to you. And I think that through those sharing of stories, we can feel a little less alone and feel a little more, just more of a community, which I think is so important always, but especially right now. Okay, so we have so many questions. Again, thank you for everyone who is chatting about this. Okay, so I've got some, I just want to make sure that I'm touching on everything. Okay, so first of all, we've had a couple of different people who've been talking about substances, who've been talking about medication and whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. I have to say that I think that it is something that I talk about in a lot of other of these talks, as well as on my podcast. I cover this very extensively, is the idea that there is a lot of different elements of mental health. There is our environment, or a lot of different things that affect our mental health. There is our environment, and that has to do with our physical environment, so what our space looks around us, as well as who we surround ourselves with, the people that we interact with the most, the neighborhood that you live in, whether or not you live in a place where there's lots of crime or any of those sorts of things. That has to do with your environment. Then you have your spirituality, which is often related to if you have a connection to a community, some kind of way, ideas about life and just purpose and a higher being or not, or anything like that. But it's really about community. So whether or not you have that is definitely plays into your mental health. Then we have our physiological, which has to do with our DNA. It has to do with how your parents related to their parents, how our parents related to us, how we were taught to talk to ourselves. All of those sorts of things is about your physiology. And then our chemical. And our chemical is the one that can be helped with medication. And this is where I think that sometimes people kind of think about oh, I'm going to take medication in order to help me through depression, anxiety, whatever. And they don't look at all of the other elements of mental health. And I think that that's where the stigma, or like the idea of like an over-medicated population, comes into play, because people are like, oh, people are only taking medication and they're not taking care of other things. I don't think that people are even acknowledging or have any understanding of what those other things are. And I think there's like very big generalizations that are very unhelpful. I think that medication is extremely, extremely important if that is something that is that you need in order to get to a foundational level of happiness and functionality in your life. It's something that I talk about in one of my podcast episodes. The fact that I had an actor talk about how for them, they felt like when they finally got the right dosage of medication, they finally felt like they were able to, in their brain, turn on the lights and then see what was going on in their brain. Because before, they were just stumbling around in the dark and weren't able to see what was happening in their brain. And finally, they were able to be like, oh, I can finally see what's happening. And that is how the medication helped them. So very, very long explanation for this. I think that medication can be extremely, extremely helpful. And it's just obviously all about having a licensed person who is walking through that journey with you, and you advocating for yourself. If the medication doesn't make you feel good, or doesn't, is having really bad side effects, then make sure that you speak to your doctor about that, because again, all of our brains are very different. What one medication that might work for me might not work for you. And it's just really important to understand the nuances of that, as well as any of the other aspects of mental health. And that's where, Wendy shares that her doctor doubled her propanol, and that she had tightening in her chest, and that helped. So like, that's an amazing example, Wendy. Thank you for sharing, of the idea of like, hey, I'm having this really bad anxiety that's manifesting in this way. Is there something you can do to help me? Her doctor was able to step in and go, let's try this. And it was able to work. I think that's really, really, really amazing. Okay. Amazing. So, Bailey, you share that you carry a lot of anxiety in your stomach. Would there be a way to help with that? So, Bailey, if you are still here, I hope that you are. I am the same. My anxiety 100% carries itself in my belly. And this is where, when I've been having some like really difficult, intense conversations with some people lately, I have been feeling like I haven't been able to like eat. I've been, it's felt like I have both like rocks and butterflies in my stomach at the same time, and it is awful. And I understand that feeling, and I don't know how it manifests for you, but I do think that it is, that is a very common place for us to hold anxiety in our bodies. I do think that, once again, the thing that is really that really helps me with that is this breathing technique, is kind of reminding myself that that anxiety, no matter where it is in your body, is still manifesting itself as it thinking that you are in danger, that your body is in danger in some way. And so it's really about, practicing that box breathing technique, and reminding yourself that like you're not in danger, and that you're, going to, like, you're going to be able to, go through whatever you're dealing with right there. I don't know if that's helpful at all, but that definitely, like, the breathing technique has certainly helped. And as some people are sharing, your illness changes throughout the course of your life. That's very true. I certainly, when I was a kid, my anxiety and like the stuff that I was going through when I was a kid would definitely manifest itself in that way. When it came to, like, I had all sorts of stomach problems, and I've grown out of that in some ways, but it's still something that I'm clearly working through. And again, it's just about like reminding yourself and reminding yourself that like you're even though your anxiety is being held right there, there is the anxiety is showing up in other parts of your body as well. And that's why, like, slowing your heart rate, doing the box breathing, reminding yourself that you're in a safe space will calm the rest of your body, which will then in turn calm down your stomach as well, so which I think is very, very helpful. Yes, and again, everyone who is, sharing their sympathies with Heather, we are all there. We are all here with you, Heather. And I really appreciate you, sharing that with us. And I hope that you're seeing everyone sending you so much love and all of that kind of stuff. Yes. Okay. So we have Nagin. You asked suggestions for bad insomnia caused by anxiety. I have to admit, this is something that I struggle with a lot. I definitely have bad insomnia. The things that have really helped me have been making sure that I get enough exercise during the day so that my body is actually tired, which allows my brain to shut off a little bit more, because I definitely go down all sorts of rabbit holes at night. And I have certainly noticed that when I do not get enough exercise that day, that I have a much more difficult time with insomnia throughout the night. I would also, it's the typical things as far as like trying to figure out an evening routine for yourself where you're, shutting off your phone, shutting off your television 3-4 hours before you're going to bed, making tea, establishing a routine that's going to tell your body that it is time to go to sleep, which will then develop or start to put melatonin into your system, which is your sleep chemical. And so once you establish an evening routine, your body kind of starts to know when it's time to wind down. And so then it starts to release that melatonin into your system, which then, helps in that way. I do have to say that I certainly also, then I sometimes take melatonin like over the counter. Obviously, I am not a licensed practitioner or therapist. I am just a woman, by myself. I have no license or anything like that. And I am just someone who is sharing my own experience. And so again, the fact that I have like an evening routine, the fact that I make sure that I get enough exercise, that I stop taking caffeine throughout, I try not to drink coffee after like 2:00. And I really, if I really need it, then I do use melatonin at times. Leslie also shares one of my favorite apps, which is Insight Timer, which is an app and a website. It has meditations and talks for sleeps. They're really, really wonderful. And there's a meditation called like Deep Sleep, and it's actually like kind of musical. And I pretty much use that every single night. It runs for about an hour and a half, and it's just like very melodic sounds. And for me, I sometimes also use, what's it called? Yes, it is free. Leslie says that she meant it's a free app. It is free. Yes. I do sometimes use, rain sounds or waves or those kind of things, but that's often if I'm like really tired. If I am going into an anxiety spiral at night, I definitely use this Insight Timer, and I use this specific deep meditation track because it has just enough things for your brain to kind of pay attention to, that my brain kind of locks onto what's going on in the app instead of what's going on into my mind, and that allows me to drop into sleep. So I really hope that that's helpful, and it seems like it is, and I'm really, really glad. I also had a wonderful comment from Alicia that says, thank you for hosting. This talk is exactly what you needed. And that makes me really happy. I'm so So glad that you all joined me today. Um, and Wendy also shares, of course, yes, blue light from electronic devices affect your sleep. So definitely try nighttime settings. Yeah, absolutely. Those are all really wonderful and important suggestions. Okay, so I'm going to take a sip of water. And then the thing that I really wanted to kind of dive into today, and we only have like 25 minutes left, is the importance of or discussing what we can do in order to help ourselves and help our partners if they are going through a mental health crisis, or if we're going through a mental health crisis and we need to like express that to our partner, whatever like that. I think that it's so important to be able to have this shorthand or have this understanding with the people that we love and that we care about and that we are cohabitating with or not or whatever. And that's what I really want to like dive into today. So while I take a sip for water, I wanted to, if anyone has any ideas or suggestions about the things that you do to help your partner or that your partner does to help you when you're going through difficult situations, please leave it in the comments, and we'll talk about those in a second. And thank you so much for everyone's wonderful comments that are popping up. It really means a lot. And I have to say that if you guys are enjoying this, I strongly recommend that you check out my podcast, because I like discuss specific topics every week, and I've got some really incredible guests, and there's almost 24 episodes now up. And I think that there's a lot of really wonderful things in there. So I strongly recommend that you check that out as well. 1 second. Okay, so as I said, if there's anyone who wants to chime in with things that their partner or their friends or their family or whatever does to help them through different mental health crises, I would love for you to share that. But in the meantime, I'm going to share some things that I have come upon that I think is really that has been really helpful to me. Adam shares that your daughter is 14 and suffers from anxiety, and you help her by having a boxing session with her. That's awesome, Adam. I love boxing, and I think that that's really wonderful. And that's so wonderful that you're able to like have some kind of physical exchange with her in that way, because I think that, again, one of the things that anxiety is really one of the things that's really like scary about anxiety is about how sometimes it feels like our body is kind of taking over our mind, and our body is kind of running the show, and like we aren't able to consciously control things and say like, hey, everything's going to be okay, we're fine in this space. And that's where I think that, like, you know, you doing something like physical with your daughter reminds her that she like has control and agency over her body in this way. So again, like, bravo to you for engaging with her in that way, because I'm sure that it is really helpful. So one of the other, you know, what the first thing, and this is like the most obvious, but I do feel like it's important to at least say it, is the most important thing is to not try to fix your person, your family member, your partner, your roommate, whoever you, or yourself. I mean, this is also, as I said in the beginning of this talk, I think that everything that I'm going to talk about right now is also very much related to how we also engage with ourselves. So it's so important to like acknowledge that they are going through something difficult, that you're going through something difficult, but you don't necessarily need to fix them. And I think that it's really important to just say, to make sure that they feel that they are loved, and that they don't have to be a specific way in order for you to love them, that you just love them as they are, and that you love all of the facets of them. And again, this has to do with yourself as well. You know, like, what are all of the different facets of yourself that you love, no matter what situation you are struggling with right there in that moment. And Adam, I agree. He says he's a firm believer in the power of fitness in the fight with mental health. Absolutely agree. And Wendy shares that you don't live with your partner, but you're able to text or message or send memes of humorous stuff when you're going through something like that. I think that's also really wonderful. And again, it's just kind of like reminding them, this is also, on my list, is the importance of reminding them that you love them in whatever capacity they are showing up in their relationship at that moment. And of course, there's certainly nuances to this. I know that, just getting very personal here, my mom had a hopefully she doesn't watch this. No, she'll be fine. I don't think it's a secret. But I've had multiple people in my life who've been in relationships with people who are very, very, who have very deep depression, who are unable to get through it and are unwilling to try and like work on themselves and work through things. And it comes to the point where it negatively affects your partner and makes them feel like it's causing them a lot of mental health issues and those kinds of things. And that's where it's important to acknowledge that the way that we relate to others is obviously going to affect us. But again, it's important to go back to that first point, which is to not try to fix them. And if they are just existing in this space, that you still need to like be true to yourself and try and find happiness and your own mental health balance in your own way, because again, the only thing that we can really control is ourselves and how we're relating to the world, how we're relating to other people, and that kind of thing. Bailey says that your son is a very good listener. He helps you with your anxiety and depression by just listening and holding me. He's your safe space. Oh, that's so beautiful, Bailey. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that that's really, really wonderful. And again, I think that it's really beautiful to, again, just like show up for your partner and be like, I love you as you are in this space. And that's it, and of course there's so many nuances to this. If the relationship is no longer, if it's causing issues, if there's like other things that are going on there, which means that maybe you guys aren't ideal partners, any of those kinds of things, I'm not really talking about that. I'm specifically talking about like in spaces of, mental health crises, mental health issues, like how we can show up for ourselves and for our partners in this way. So Jackie says grounding exercises for anxiety. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this earlier, Jackie, but I agree. This is wonderful. Find 3 things that you see, that you hear, that you feel, etc. Definitely. That's really, really important. And that's, again, just the reminder of the fact that like our body is kind of, or our body is causing anxiety and our mind isn't able to like quiet that anxiety. And so it's just about your mind kind of stepping in and going, I hear you, body. I understand that you're stressed about stuff, but like, let's distract ourselves for a little bit and like look at some of the other things that are going on in the world around us and see if we can put attention on those instead of putting attention on our body kind of spiraling out of control. And I think that that's really, really helpful and really wonderful. And the other thing, Jackie, I would say is grounding techniques. I mean, grounding really comes from the idea of going outside and going to the ground, going to the physical earth, and reminding yourself that like you are a part of the earth, that we're all a part of the earth, and that it's important to just kind of reconnect with nature in some ways. I know that when I'm feeling like extra levels of anxiety and I'm not able to like calm myself down with the box breathing technique or with just basic like acknowledging that everything's okay, I will go outside and kind of touch the ground and be like, I'm part of the earth is here, everything is stable, everything is fine, and that's just a different form of grounding. Alicia says, being reminded that a feeling, panic attack, anxiety is only temporary. Your best friend has a way of talking you down, so to speak. Absolutely. That's really, really wonderful. And I think that that's where if you're by yourself, because I do think that I really want to, acknowledge the idea that like we are, like a lot of these things are about partners, but again, we have to also learn how to calm ourselves in some ways, because sometimes we are alone. And so we have to develop some techniques to like work through things just by ourselves. Alicia shares that it's called earthing when you do grounding outside on the earth, and that makes sense. Perfect. Thank you for sharing. And so that's where, again, like doing that earthing, doing that, like reminding yourself of other things that are going on. And that kind of like allows your brain to kind of control your body and control whatever your body is thinking. And allows you to then remind yourself that the feeling is only temporary, that you will get through this, that whatever horrible situations that you're going on through right now, whether imaginary or real, whether physical or mental, whether in a relationship or not, or whatever it is, all of this is only temporary. We will get through it. And that's just a really important thing to remind ourselves of. One thing I'll share, I really like to share resources with More Than You See, and this is something, this is kind of why I created More Than You See, was to share different podcasts, books, TED Talks, etc., that have been helpful with me. And this is something I'm going to add to my mental health website, as well as on the Instagram. And if you definitely check out our Instagram as well, because we've got some really amazing resources there. And there's a new podcast from Glennon Doyle called We Can Do Hard Things. I just started listening to it yesterday, and it is honestly exactly what I needed right now in such a beautiful way. And it is just, she is speaking so openly about her own experience with anxiety and the co-parenting that she does with her wife and her ex-husband. There's really amazing conversations that are being had on there. And so it's been something that has helped me already just in like the 24 hours that I've listened to it. So I'd strongly recommend that you check it out. And again, I'll put that up on both the Instagram. It's actually up on the Instagram right now as a recommended resource. And I will also put it on the website as well. So make sure that you follow us, and you can check out those things. Another thing that I want to kind of remind yourself of, and this is both, again, to remind yourself, to remind your partner, to remind whoever is going through something, is to remember that happiness and life and what an ideal life or an ideal life is, and what an ideal life looks like, is different for everyone. What I might see as I can tell you what my life and how I live my life is very different than how my sister lives her life. She's 3 years younger than me, and we could not be more opposite in the way that we live our lives and the things that make us happy. And that also relates to the simple things. It's not just the big ideas around life, it's also just the simple things. And so it is so important to remember that what might make you happy and help you through a mental health crisis may not be the thing that helps your friend or your partner or a roommate or a family member, whoever, through a mental health crisis. And that's why it's so important to check in with that person and be like, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything that I can do to support you right now? And not try and put your ideas of happiness onto someone else. I've been in a relationship before where this person basically just said, like, just be happy. Can't you just be happy? And I was like, no, I can't. And like, you saying that to me makes me more stressed out and more anxious, because I know that I'm letting you down, and that makes me really even more anxious, and it becomes this big spiral. So again, I think it's really important to just like focus on our own happiness. And that's really all we can do, is kind of like advocate for ourselves, check in with the people that we care about, but make sure that we are advocating for ourselves and our own happiness, and understanding that my happiness might look completely different from your happiness. Adam, you shared earlier that you that you asked about positive affirmations. So I think that it depends about positive affirmations. Again, it depends on the person. It depends how they want to, how you want to relate to the world, etc. I think that sometimes it's really can be damaging when we've got like gurus who are telling us like, oh, you need to do these certain things in order to have these positive affirmations in your life, etc. And I don't always find that useful. I have friends who have like a list of like 5 things that they read every morning. They like look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, I am powerful, I am strong, I am rich, I am successful, etc. And like that really works for them. For me, that doesn't work for me. So what works for me as far as positive affirmations is that I have little sticky notes all around my house that say, why not me? And that's a reminder of myself that whatever dreams, goals, ideas that I have about my life, about what I want, about my goals and aspirations, like all of those things, why not me? Why can't I have those things? And so it's kind of an affirmation, but it's also just a reminder of the importance of like dreaming and believing in myself and believing in unicorns and fairy dust and the idea that there is something so wonderful and beautiful out there for me. And like, why not me? Why can't I have all of those things that I want? So that's what's helpful for me. And I have those Post-it notes. I've got like 8 or 10 of those Post-it notes just like in random places all around my house, like inside one of my mirrors, on my front door, on my refrigerator, on my computer. Like I just have it all sorts of places. And so that's my version of positive affirmations. And again, I think it just depends what is a good positive affirmation for you. Yeah, we have so many more suggestions of how to quell your anxiety. Alicia, you shared that you got a Nintendo Switch to engage yourself. I did the same actually during quarantine because of the same reason, and it has been so helpful for me. Again, I've also started playing Free Cell right now on my phone, and that's another thing that's like helping my anxiety a huge amount. So I hear you and I recognize you, and yes, I love that. Get that unicorn. Thank you. Oh my God, I feel the love. This is wonderful. So Vicky shares, you put on your earbuds and listen to Tony Pandora from your phone, but that doesn't help, for example, when you're out at appointments. How do you get through it without feeling you're going to lose control? That's a wonderful, wonderful question. I mean, I would say that, like, I assume that you're saying that, like, if you're in the middle of if you're like in the middle of an appointment, I assume that's what you're talking about, because I certainly will keep my AirPods on me at all times. And if I'm out at the grocery store, or if I'm walking somewhere, or if I'm in a situation where I'm able to kind of switch off, I will still do that. But if you're in the middle of an appointment, I mean, this is where sometimes just, again, allowing your brain to kind of override the anxiety of your body. And the way that you do that is by focusing on something else. So, for example, if you're sitting in a doctor's appointment and it's causing anxiety, you could kind of look around the room and like see something that like maybe makes you happy. And it could be as simple as, wow, that's a really beautiful color on this blue pen. Like, I just like looked over and I was like, this highlighter is like actually like a beautiful shade of blue. I really like this. And so me just kind of like looking at that one thing, if you were out in some public situation, looking at that one thing and going, huh, that's really beautiful. And that's it. Just acknowledging that. And that what it does is that literally has your brain go from whatever spiral that it's in to just kind of like a momentary, it just kind of like stops your brain from going down the spiral and allows your brain to just focus on something else for a second. And this is something that definitely takes practice. It's definitely something where, you know, like the first couple times it may not actually do anything for you, but you will start to just start to acknowledge the like beauty and the tiny things around you. And that has been very helpful for me with my anxiety, is to just kind of like allows your brain to just switch off for a second and focus on something else. And then you can go back to that stressful situation and deal with it how you can. And then notice something else that is, causes some happier feelings or whatever. So I don't know, try it and then let me know if that is at all helpful for you. Shannon says, for you, hiking and fishing is the best. It's a huge anxiety reliever. I love that we have so many other people who are also talking about how they're playing Switch. I think that it is really, it's something for me that, especially during quarantine and COVID, like I already do a lot of hiking. I already go outside, and I'm already outside a lot. And it was in my house that it was causing me a lot of anxiety. And so having that has really helped me. Has just really like helped distract myself and like give myself something fun to kind of pay attention to in a really just like beautiful and helpful way. So you guys like my little dog behind me here? Vicky says, thank you so much. So I hope that was helpful for you, Vicky. Again, please let me know. Hi, Zell. What do you see? What do you see? Oh, they're both going to go now. It's okay. Come on. My two little puppies here. But in that, what is Switch? Nintendo Switch. We're talking about like the video game. In any case, I've got like 3 more minutes. So I just want to, again, thank you all. Oh, Heather, that makes me so happy. I'm so glad that this has helped you a lot. Again, we're sending you so much love. And the dogs are now moving. I really, really love having these conversations with you all. Again, I do these every other week. So today is the 26th of July, which means, good Lord, how is it almost August? That is just insane. So my next one will be August 9th. And it's every other Monday at 1 o'clock. Again, you can find me also on Instagram. Please listen to my podcast. We've got some really incredible guests, and I discuss some really wonderful things. And it's basically like these little talks, but in little like 15-minute little sections. And I hope it brings you some happiness into your life. Najeen, thank you so much. Sending you love and healing. And Alicia, Breath of the Wild is your anxiety relief. I love that game as well. So yes, absolutely. And Rick, thank you so much for being one of my regulars. I really, really appreciate seeing you as well. Adam, big hugs to you. Big hugs to your daughter. Have fun boxing with her. And Wendy, again, I'm so sorry that you lost your dog. And I think that dogs really are just wonderful little beings. They bring me so much happiness. I know my dog brings me a lot of happiness. Again, thank you, Vicky. Thank you, everyone, for being here with me. Please find me on all of the platforms. I always love to have conversations with you all and connect with you all. And I look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks right here. Thank you.